Hey there, Commanders. So what if I told you there was a way to make millions of credits in Elite Dangerous without firing a single shot? A way to relax, enjoy the beauty of space and still walk away with a fortune. I'll admit, mining has never been my go-to activity, but after revisiting it, I've realised just how valuable it can be, and not just for the credits, but for the progression, engineering and even exploration. So in this video we're diving into laser mining. It's the easiest way to get started. I'll take you step by step from outfitting your ship to finding the best mining spots, so you can start to make big profits right away. Let's get started. It's a very different kind of gameplay loop to trading, bounty hunting or exploration, and it has its roots in the original Elite game back in the 1980s and exists in a reimagined format today. Mining is essentially part of the trading and economic loop. So you extract valuable resources from asteroids and you sell them for a profit at stations or planetary bases. It's one of the more relaxed and methodical ways to make credits, but it requires a specific set of equipment and a little bit of know-how to be efficient. So why does mining matter within the game world? Well, in terms of economic influence, selling mined materials can affect the supply and demand in the background simulation. So if you offload a lot of a certain material at a station, it can shift the system's economy and faction influence. In terms of crafting and engineering, certain mined materials are used to upgrade ships through engineering, for example mining for Painite or void opals to fund upgrades. And then in terms of mission rewards, some mining related missions can provide reputation boosts and financial rewards. And lastly, players with fleet carriers often rely on miners to keep their carriers supplied with fuel, which is tritium, or trade goods. There are three main types of mining, and each with a different style and level of profitability. First of all, there's laser mining, which is using a mining laser to strip minerals directly from asteroids. Then there's subsurface mining, which is using subsurface displacement missiles to extract materials from beneath the asteroid's surface. And lastly, core mining, which is the most profitable but skill-intensive method, where you're using seismic charges to crack open asteroids and collect the valuable core materials inside. So in terms of game progression then, in the early game, mining can be a steady way to build credits early, especially with laser mining. In the mid-game, core mining can become very profitable and can fund ship upgrades and engineering materials, and then in the late game, tritium mining is critical for fueling those fleet carriers, and getting those rare minerals like void opals can create massive profit spikes. So we're going to start with laser mining, since it's straightforward and low risk. We're going to focus on finding a high value mineral like platinum in a pristine metallic ring. After this, and once you get comfortable, then you can move on to core mining for those bigger payouts. Mining is a great way for new players to engage with the economy and learn the basics of ship handling and outfitting without the pressure of combat or exploration risks. It's almost an exercise in mindfulness and can be an incredibly relaxing experience. So let's take an introductory dive into laser mining within Elite Dangerous. So first things first, we absolutely need to talk about outfitting. You're of course going to need a suitable ship. Now this comes down mainly to budget, but as a beginner you're likely to be looking at either an Adder or a Cobra Mk III. I'd advise going with the Cobra. It just provides slightly more versatility. So let's go through a basic mining build using a Cobra Mk III so that we can discuss the modules required specifically for mining. I'll include a link to this build in the description below. So first of all, the hardpoints. You're going to need to purchase mining lasers, and the Cobra has class 2 hardpoints, so go for class 2D mining lasers, and then it's on to the optional modules. So firstly, you're going to need a refinery. So this takes the raw materials and refines them into a commodity that can then be sold on the market. A refinery consists of a number of hoppers that take the raw material, and once a hopper is full of one type of mined material, that material is then automatically transferred to your cargo bay, where it will consume 1 unit of cargo space. The higher the rating of the refinery, the more hoppers it contains. So this is very useful, as once you have filled your cargo bay, you can carry on collecting material until all your hoppers are also full, and this means more to sell once you reach a station or settlement. In this example, the Cobra is outfitted with a class 2A refinery, so this would have 6 hoppers. A class 3A refinery will have 8 hoppers. Then you'll need a prospector limpet controller. This is used to program limpets which are fired at the asteroid, and on impact will scan and then report back on what materials the asteroid consists of. It's important to note that the higher the class of limpet controller will ensure a better yield of material from an asteroid. So simply put, you need to buy a class 1A prospector limpet controller. Next, you'll need a collector limpet controller. This is used to program a limpet that can then be fired to go and collect resources or material that you have mined from the asteroid. Again here, the higher the class, the more limpets can be controlled. In this example for the Cobra, we have 2 of these controllers, and this means that the 2 collector limpets can be active at any one time, meaning more material is collected at a faster rate. On the Asp Explorer, I have a class 3A controller, and this allows me to have 2 active limpets at any one time just from one module. In the Cobra, we don't have the capacity, so we therefore use 2 class C controllers. You'll need to ensure that you have at least 1 cargo bay for storing the mined and refined material. So here in the Cobra we have a total capacity for 32 units of cargo. The Asp Explorer as a comparison can carry a total of 100 units of cargo. With your refinery hoppers as well, this would give you an ability to mine and then store 38 units of mined material. Lastly, you want to have a detailed surface scanner. This allows you to fire probes at the planetary ring, which can then scan the ring and report back on material hotspots. Other considerations with regards to outfitting then. You should strongly consider the benefits of carrying a shield generator as opposed to running shieldless. The benefit here is you could increase cargo space. The risk is having an accidental collision in either the asteroid field or when landing, or if you have a scrape with pirates. Similar with outfitting weapons in your spare hardpoint slots. Are you going to fight or run? It's certainly worth upgrading your power plant, your power distributor and your FSD. That will give you more range and also more power available when firing those mining lasers for a prolonged burst. You'll struggle to have capacity for a fuel scoop as well, so it's best to be aware that you can only fill up with fuel at stations and settlements. The other thing to remember is to fill up with limpets before you leave. There's nothing worse than arriving at an asteroid field and realising you've not brought any. You do this at the advanced maintenance window and going to limpets and stocking up. They're not that expensive, and as a beginner I would advise that you fill your hold up with limpets. Once you've done this a few times, you can probably reduce that to at least 75%. Another point to note before departing is to sort out your fire groups. So getting this right early on and in the comfort of the station will pay dividends later. My preference is to have my prospector limpets and mining laser in one fire group and my collector limpets and detailed surface scanner in the following fire group. I trigger my mining lasers with my primary trigger and the prospector limpets with my secondary trigger, and then in the other fire group my detailed surface scanner with my primary and the collector limpets with my secondary. So we can't take off quite yet, we need to figure out where to go. So here as a beginner, I'd advise you taking a look at another third-party tool, which in this example is edtools.cc, and again the link in the description below. So you enter the location of the current system, and then you click on the material you wish to mine, and I'm going to strongly advise platinum to start with. It will then give you a list in order of distance with the closest first of the best places to mine platinum, and I'd be massively surprised if it didn't return Omicron Capricorni B as the system to mine in, and yes, the potential profits are worth a journey. So take a note of the system, search for it in the galaxy map, plot a route, and providing you can fly to it, ensuring you can refuel en route if you need to, it's then time to depart. You're first going to arrive at the planet in Super Cruise. Try and get above the ring so that you can see all the way around it. Stay in Super Cruise but with your throttle to 0, and then select the fire group with your detailed surface scanner. Then fire a probe at the ring. This might take a couple of attempts, but you'll see the ring light up once a probe has managed to scan it. This step is important as it will identify any material hotspots found in the ring. So scan through that hotspots and look for platinum. In this ring there are 2 hotspots for platinum that overlap. An overlap is good as you should find an abundance of the material you are after. In this case it's platinum. So you lock onto the hotspot and you fly to it in Super Cruise. If it's an overlap, you aim for the centre of the overlap. And as long as you aren't flying too fast when you reach your destination, your ship will automatically drop out of Super Cruise with no damage, and you will find the asteroid ring within flying distance. So I've got a top tip here. When you're mining in an asteroid field, you'll find it significantly easier if you turn on night vision in your ship. If you haven't done so already, you'll need to set a keybind for this. Simply go into the control options, select ship controls, find miscellaneous, and then look for the night vision entry. So you deploy your hardpoints and select your fire group with your prospector limpets and your mining lasers. You line up an asteroid and you fire a prospector limpet at it. As the limpet flies towards the asteroid, you lock onto that limpet. So when that limpet hits the asteroid, it will then give you a breakdown of the material content. It gives you all this information you need to know in the target details in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. So you're then analysing the results. So you're after platinum, and you're looking for an asteroid that contains platinum. It might well contain other minerals as well, and that's okay. You want to consider asteroids with either a medium or high content, and ideally avoid anything with low content. It might well take a few attempts to find a suitable asteroid, and if you filled your cargo space up with limpets, then don't panic if it's going to take more than a few attempts, as you're going to need that space for the refined platinum anyway. So then it's on to the actual mining process itself, and the first point to note here is take your time, there's no rush. So pirates could possibly show up, and it's usually when you first arrive at the asteroid belt anyway, so it's best just to let them scan you to reveal that you are carrying nothing before you start to mine. If you've already started, then it's usually best to give them what they're asked for, which is maybe a few units of the material that you've already collected, and for that you just go into your inventory and you abandon the amount that they've asked for. In terms of positioning with the asteroid then, ideally you want to be above the axis of the spin, and there's two main reasons for this. Firstly, when the material comes off and needs to be collected, your collector limpets will stand much less chance of being destroyed by the spinning asteroid. And then secondly, the collected materials are much easier to then collect by your collector limpets. You'll then need to be close to the asteroid, I believe within 500 meters, for the mining lasers to work. You'll need to open your cargo hatch, and with an Xbox controller you hold down the red B button and press up with a directional D-pad, or if you're on a keyboard, the default keyboard bind is the home button. You will also need to have deployed at least one collector limpet, so for that you switch to the fire group that contains your collector limpet and you just simply launch one. It's going to automatically fly around until it has something to collect. Ideally, you're going to put full energy pips to your weapons, your hardpoints. With the Xbox controller, default bind is the right button on the directional D-pad, or on the keyboard it's the right cursor key. You fire the mining lasers at the asteroid in a sustained burst until they run out of power. You wait for the energy levels to replenish, and then you fire again. As long as you've kept the prospector limpet targeted, it will tell you how much material is left in the asteroid to mine. You will also get an audible alert telling you when the asteroid is depleted. In the meantime, your collector limpets will automatically retrieve the materials and they will appear in your refinery hoppers. You'll get an audible and visual alert when there is no more material to be collected. So once you've reached this stage, it's time to find another asteroid to mine. So in the meantime, the chances are that there's going to be other materials that are being collected, and you'll probably not want these. So the thing to do is to go to the Contacts tab and identify the materials that you don't want to collect, and you set them to ignore, and you're going to need to do this for each material that you don't want. And this will be persistent between mining trips, so you only need to do this the once. But remember, if you want to mine these materials in the future, you're going to need to come back here and undo this change. Now you might have already collected some material that you don't want, and this will either be in a hopper in your refinery, or if you collected enough it will be in your cargo hold. So head over to the inventory tab, which is on the right hand display screen, and select the refinery, and then select the hopper with the unwanted material and simply choose to eject it. And then if you go to the cargo bay tab, and if there is material in there that you don't want, you select it, and then you go to the abandon option and you dump the cargo. So check your inventory cargo limits regularly and the level of your refinery hoppers. If you filled up completely with limpets, then you might not have enough cargo space for the mined materials. So once your hoppers begin to fill up and you need more space for the mined and refined material, then start to abandon one or more limpets. The platinum is worth considerably more. Your collector limpets don't last forever and they will expire, so you get an audio alert when this happens. So simply switch to your collector limpet fire group and you launch a new one. So just repeat this process until your cargo bays are full, and remember to fill up your hoppers as well as your cargo bays, and once you sell the material in your cargo bay, the hoppers will automatically empty to give you more material to sell. You head to the sell station, which is identified in edtools.cc, and you are going to sell for the best price. When you sell the contents of your cargo hold, anything left in the refinery hoppers will automatically then move to your cargo hold. Don't forget to sell these as well. So, next steps then. Once you've started to make some decent money, consider investing in your outfitting. So if you're in a Cobra Mk III, then moving up to something like the Asp Explorer is a decent upgrade, mainly for the cargo space, but it can also run a bigger refinery, and an A-rated Collect Limpet controller. The link to my suggested build is in the description below. After the Asp Explorer, moving to something like a Python would be a very good upgrade. Having an A-rated refinery means more hoppers, and it's useful once your cargo bays are full. So an A-rated Class 3 refinery gives you 8 hoppers. A-rated Class 3 collector limpets means 2 collector limpets at once, speeding up collection times, and an A-rated prospector limpet means a better yield from an asteroid. So that wraps up the tutorial on laser mining. I hope you found it useful. For me, as I said at the beginning, I have rediscovered an aspect of the Elite Dangerous gameplay that I'd abandoned for quite some time, and it's been great to delve back into it again. It's an activity that can be profitable, but also quite relaxing. So following on from laser mining, you can move into subsurface mining and core mining. Both are more difficult in terms of gameplay, but the rewards are far greater, and it's something I'm going to tackle another time. So have you got any laser mining tips you want to share with the community? What do you think about mining as a gameplay experience? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now, Commanders. Have fun mining, fly dangerous, and I'll see you out there in the black.